Hello.
Hello.
Why would we restart the podcast, Lynette?
Because I'm a professional content creator who has editing magic.
No, but really, why? Would it be because of Winston?
Winston, Winnie is the king of distraction in this household.
Okay, I added real honey to this honey tea.
Is it too sweet?
It's very sweet. It's very, very sweet.
Welcome back.
Hey, thanks. You're saying that to me?
To the podcast.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know the last time we posted a podcast episode. It was sometime.
It was in the before times.
No, it wasn't. It was near the beginning of the semester because I remember talking about how much work I had to do. And that's in part why we took a break. Because I could not. September. I literally could not do it.
For sure. Oh, I just realized. I'm not sure that I wrote down the right page number. Did you change the page number?
Or 183?
Bless you. That's what it says.
There we go. There we
go. Yeah, so we're back. We haven't really gone anywhere.
It's not like done with 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah, we literally have not gone anywhere.
Yeah, that is very true.
Stay inside.
So many times we've had a week where we put the garbage out and then usually we bring like part of them in because they come really early, but the greenery one comes late. And it won't be until like the next day or even 2 days that we finally go back outside. We're like, oh, can I bring this in?
Yep.
The before times.
Indeed. But now we're back. We're going to keep going with Prisoner of Azkaban, where we left off.
We need the bubblehead charm.
The bubblehead charm?
Yeah. Isn't that what Cedric uses in the... Oh, we haven't gotten to that book, so we don't know.
What is that? What that?
I'm pretty sure it is. To breathe underwater. It's like a fishbowl.
Mm-hmm. Or gillyweed.
Yeah.
How do we do this? Are you ready to get into the synopsis? Or
Sure,
you have more questions?
Wand's ready?
Oh, shoot. I do have a wand. Who knew? I have a wand. Wand's ready.
Okay, turn to page 183, the Marauders Map. Today's lesson is called Betrayal.
Oh, boy.
Simple.
Uh-huh.
A synopsis. The chapter begins with Harry in the hospital wing, recovering from the dementor attack during Quidditch. His friends try to cheer him up, but he is distraught about the experience. Worse, he is stuck in Hogwarts alone while his friends go to Hogsmeade without him. He tells Lupin about his experiences with the dementors and gets him to commit to helping Harry survive. And then Fred and George come through, giving Harry a map they stole from Filch. It shows where everyone in the castle is at the moment, and also some different pathways out. They lead him to a secret exit that goes to Hogsmeade, and Harry takes it and joins Ron and Hermione. They have fun in Hogsmeade and wind up in the Three Broomsticks, when several professors come in along with Minister for Magic, Cornelius Fudge. Harry hides as the adults discuss Sirius Black. He learns that Harry's dad and Sirius Black were best friends at Hogwarts, and that Black betrayed his parents to Voldemort, causing the attack and their murders. If any of those pieces of the synopsis were not accurate, it's because I read the chapter in September and wrote that from memory.
No, I forgot because I opened, we have like a shared Google Drive, and I opened the doc and I was like, oh, this must be from because we usually like make a copy. And I'm like, this must be from an old episode. This is why I messed up earlier. I deleted everything and then I restored an old version and I forgot that I was like reading, it was like the second or third page in, I was like, I already read this, like recent memory. And so, yes, it is a chapter. The opening makes me a little sad. Poor Harry. So he is in the hospital wing, and he won't let them throw away the shards of his Nimbus 2000. And you get like that little glimpse where he's thinking in his head, and he says something. Oh, I wrote the quote down. He knew he was being stupid, knew that the Nimbus was beyond repair, but Harry couldn't help it. He felt as though he'd lost one of his best friends. And part of it is like, we've seen this, now we're in year 3, Quidditch is super, super, super important to Harry because it's the thing that he can like demonstrate, hey, I'm good at Quidditch. I, at least deserve whatever credit or recognition for Quidditch, unlike being the chosen one where he's just kind of like, he doesn't really feel over and over like that is something that he understands or can live up to,
right,
like Quidditch.
Right.
So that part made me sad. I was like, oh, poor Harry.
Yeah, Harry is in a mood, to say the least. I mean, I think like it makes a lot of sense. Yeah, Quidditch is like a bastion of freedom for him, right?
Yeah.
And I agree as well. And I think we've hit on this point before where like it's a little bit different than anything else that he succeeds in.
Yeah.
Like anything magical, it's almost like people expect it of him. Like he must be so super powerful. So it's like, oh, he did something. So yeah, it's just because of who he is.
Yeah.
This is different.
Right.
And now he lost. They lost.
Well, yeah, poor Oliver, because like Oliver is like trying to comfort, and the way she wrote it is just kind of like, oh, he's like trying to make it sound like he's not blaming Harry, but
monotone.
Yeah,
it's not your fault.
Exactly.
I think we also hear, if I'm not completely off the wall here, that Cedric was the one who got the snitch, right? Cedric Diggory, and then he like wanted it to not count or whatever.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was like, oh, Cedric didn't know. Like, he
Right.
didn't realize it by that time. But yeah, there's a lot going on because, like, where we left off is that Harry saw the Grim.
Yep.
Again.
Grim defeat.
Again. And so he is even, not only did they lose the Quidditch match, but now he's, like, in this whole, like, death is coming, sort of thing. Like, is this ever going to go away sort of feeling? And it keeps popping up.
No, it won't.
Spoiler alert, Harry.
2020 is coming, Harold.
The calamity.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, man. We get a little bit more about the dementors. So one of the quotes that I wrote down was that everyone said the dementors were horrible, but no one else collapsed every time they went near one. No one else heard the echoes in their head of their dying parents. And so there's this exchange between Harry and Lupin where they're kind of like having this more intimate moment, debriefing some things. And
well, we talked, I think, very early on in this book about when they're all in the particular carriage in the whatever.
The Thestrals?
The Express, Hogwarts Express.
Yeah.
And how like you can see the sort of
With Lupin.
gradient of how the kids are affected, and that like Harry and Ginny and Neville are sort of in a different relationship with fear and memories. Yeah, it's kind of interesting.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it persists. It's interesting to think about, like, we've talked about this as well, but I've always been fascinated about the idea of something like the mirror or the Dementor changing, or the Boggart, for that matter. Like, your experience with those things will change.
Yeah. Well, we
but
had
not
that
necessarily. I mean, it's likely to change. It's not a guarantee.
Yeah. Right.
Yep.
We had the discussion with the Boggart cabinet, or like what it turns into, and so we have like the range of like, oh, a spider, and then like a Dementor, or whatever it is, like things that are likely to happen. We had that conversation about fear and the kinds of fears that we have, and things that are, Molly Weasley, which it's I don't think it's in this book. It'll be revealed later on, about her Boggart form is her family
like
members
book 5,
dying.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think it probably wasn't always that for her, and I suspect
right.
that, like, as Harry gets older, his experience, if he were to encounter a Dementor, would be different.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Kinda,
Maybe it'd be about Ginny,
like,
or the kids, or who knows what. Yeah. Or, adversaries coming back from the past.
Oh, snap. So Fred and George... they're coming through, with the Marauders Map.
Yeah.
This gift to Harry. They're like, oh, hey, here you go.
Fred and George are a masterclass in writing, I think, by J.K. Rowling, because they're peripheral characters that are so fully fleshed out. It just makes that is who they are. Of course they would give it to him.
Yeah.
Like, it just makes sense.
Yeah.
Because they would also... It's in their personality to be like, this is overly restrictive on Harry. Like, why? Like, it's not his fault he's being, hunted or whatever it might be. Like, we need to figure something. And they don't even know that at this point, right? They kind of know that Sirius is coming or whatever, but nobody, I mean, we find out later in Hogsmeade that
Yeah.
there's like this very obvious connection between Harry and Sirius, as opposed to just being like, oh yeah, he was a, Death Eater or something.
Yeah. Fred and George are, I mean, I feel like a lot of students, or I mean, even students, Muggle world, can see or see through the facade of schooling and be like, oh, or rules or anything like that, and be like, eh. And they even make comments about, like, they push the boundaries, right? So, like,
Right.
And in a later book, they push the boundaries even more in Order of the Phoenix, but that's kind of like their thing, is like, it's not like, oh, well, you're kind of angsty about it, but you're just playful and you just kind of like, the class clowns or whatever, however you want to characterize it. But it's part of it is they know that it's just like you're saying, the circumstances that Harry's in is not exactly fair. So they're like, hey, wink, wink, nod, nod. We have this like secret pathway that you can go through.
And it continues on, right? I mean, like, this is one of the main points, but books 4 and 5 and then onward, like, but especially 4 and 5, you start to realize that you get this sense of like they are completely autonomous characters in the story. They like have this other thing going on, and it somehow it intersects with what's happening at times, but it's just really, really interesting. And then, like, when it all is said and done and they open a joke shop, it's like, of course they would do that.
Yeah.
Of course they would. Of course they would leave, like, Umbridge, and of course, all this rest of the stuff. So, yeah, they're great.
Yeah. So I looked up something with the specific passageway that they tell Harry to go through, and it's with this one-eyed witch. And her name is actually Ganelda de Gorsmore. She lived from 1556 to 1639. She was a one-eyed, humpback British witch and healer who discovered a cure for dragonpox.
Nice. Well done.
That's who she is.
I'm imagining dragonpox being very bad, like smallpox.
Dragonpox, yes, very, very, very bad. It said it killed many wizards, including Abraxas Malfoy, who is Draco's grandfather, actually. And it says, although effective, her cure has not eradicated the disease. So that's why you have like a more recent case of death, even though it's not as common as it was before, or like as bad as it was.
Interesting.
It does help, I guess. But yeah, that
probably
is the
didn't
passage.
take the cure, he's anti-cure.
Oh no. But yeah, the secret passage that leads to Honeydukes in Hogsmeade, that Harry takes.
Yeah, and correct me if I'm wrong, because this is, again, it's been a little while since I read this one, but isn't it when they pass over the map, it's like, oh, Lee thinks you found the new thing or whatever, a new passageway.
Oh,
and
yeah.
They're like, oh, yeah, I bet it's the one we found our first week or whatever.
Well, yeah, it's also interesting because they were basically like, okay, these are the ones we know of, and the teachers know that we know of this one, or, so they're kind of like directing him. I don't know. I think that whole exchange was really sweet.
Yeah. And that they like stole it from Filch's desk or whatever.
Classic.
It's just too much.
Yeah. So Harry gets there. Oh man. So this chapter, so basically like my summary is that the Marauders Map as an artifact itself is not the bulk of the chapter. It's more about the backstory of who are these people that are on the map.
Right.
Or the creator, the Marauders, basically. Yeah. But when Harry gets to Hogsmeade, there's like postings on the wall that's like, oh, the ministry orders this. And I took a little screenshot of it because I wanted to it was just funny how it kind of laid out. Customers are reminded that until further notice, dementors will be patrolling the streets of Hogsmeade every night. This measure has been put in place for the safety of Hogsmeade residents and will be lifted upon the recapture of Sirius Black. It is therefore advisable that you complete your shopping well before nightfall. Merry Christmas. And it just made me laugh so much because it's like all this stuff, and then it's just like holiday
Try not to die out there. Hey, Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. Oh, but Harry gets to go in, and Ron is like having a field day with all the sweets and stuff, and
I
Hermione's
can
just,
just imagine him on a sugar high. He's
oh
bouncing
my
off the
gosh,
walls.
yeah, classic. Well, that first interaction on Hogwarts Express where Harry buys all of it, and Ron is just like, wicked, like in the movie, he's like, wicked, or whatever he says. Yeah, that's classic Ron. And Hermione, of course, is just like, Harry, what are you doing, Harry? What are you doing here? So much going on. But then there's a conversation. McGonagall is there. Fudge is there. I don't remember who the other person was.
I think Hagrid.
Hagrid. Yeah, yes,
And
Hagrid.
Flitwick, maybe. Or...
And Flitwick. And they're talking about the going-ons with Mr. Sirius Black here.
Yeah, and there's a lot for sure. I mean, I think it's again a story of not telling Harry things for whatever reason. Like what exactly? Puppy. Like why exactly shouldn't you just tell him? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Like even Mr. Weasley being like, whatever you might hear, it's like, well, what? Come on. If you think that like under no circumstances Harry should go looking for Sirius Black, then you have to tell him the truth. If you withhold it from him, then you're going to frame it as even more valuable information than it actually is.
Right.
Learning that he was his dad's best friend should have been something done in the comfort of surrounded by people who knew and love him. Not under a table. Unless
they already know that Harry has a hero complex. And is like,
and that Dumbledore fosters it.
Yeah, if we tell him,
yeah,
he's gonna straight up run after, or like, I don't even know.
Yeah,
I'm not sure, but yeah, I agree. Like it doesn't seem to. I don't know. It just doesn't seem to make sense. But I don't know how much of that is like we are from the perspective of Harry. Like Harry's our hero, so we're like, no, he deserves to know, or like there's all these other elements involved. Like we have this kind of like zoomed out view, and it doesn't seem to make sense to them.
Yeah, and of course it's my perspective on things, but like I get the justification. It's the same justification that Dumbledore uses all the time.
Yeah.
But ultimately, like, you rob Harry of the choice, right? And then you get this type of circumstance where it's like somebody finds out the truth.
Yeah.
In a, way that wasn't planned for, and therefore goes worse, and then they're going to use that as some kind of
evidence that he shouldn't have known.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
as if the method of finding out doesn't matter.
For sure. I mean that kind of, we've talked a lot about like different sorts of relationships like between adult and child, like at a societal level, and I feel like that like the perspective, whatever the starting perspective is, or the normative perspective is very, very difficult to challenge unless you're open to changing your mind about whatever it is you think is right. And if you think what you think is right is that children should be protected at all costs, and the means to do that is to withhold information from them, then you're going to do that over and over and over.
Well, it's interesting because I think when people have that perspective, they're thinking about children as like naive and innocent. But naivete and innocence aren't things that necessarily have to do with age. They might be correlated, but somebody could be much more kind of self-aware, Harry, than somebody like Vernon Dursley.
Right.
Or, a lot of the adults in the books.
Yeah.
So it's a misnomer to label this sort of unpreparedness, or it's a mistake to label it as like based on the number of somebody's age, rather than recognizing. I mean, because I think we're being told to think that as well in this book, because we know that Harry has had worse experiences. It's literally happened in this chapter. Yeah. That Lupin is like, well, you've had worse experiences than like anyone else, so of course you have a more strong reaction to Dementor.
Right.
And I think it's the opposite side of the coin. It's like, well, he has these horrible relationships with Dementors and Boggarts, and he's probably, you should tell him the truth. He can handle it.
Yeah. I think so. WizardPhD Book Club read Order of the Phoenix, and so something that people kept bringing up to remind me was that these adults went through an entire wizarding war, and so a lot of their decisions follow something so horrific that I don't know, it's kind of like over correction or something.
Right.
So even though Harry has gone through these horrible things, I think it's sort of and we see this in our society also, or in our relationships, just like, oh, well, I went through this like terrible thing. Like, we want to protect you from having to even deal with that, or even try to, I don't know, just even the idea that
Totally. Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Right.
We had them. You shouldn't do it.
No, don't ever have any fun ever.
Yeah, it's too dangerous.
Or you shouldn't. And
like
it's kind of, yeah. I mean, when you think about the context of like, I don't know. So what is life all about? You know, just experiencing and figure. Like, there's no like ultimate form. I think, I don't know. This might be my naive self talking, but there's no ultimate form to life to be like, oh, we've perfected it, or we've like. I mean, of course, scientific advancements or medicine or whatever has made, on the whole, living easier for humans, but. You still, no matter what, you're never going to get rid of like pain and suffering
easier.
or anything. Yeah, survival. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I understand the rationale and justification for like doing these things to Harry, but I don't think that it's the correct decision. I understand it, but I don't think it's correct. And of course, the rub of it is, you never get to find out. There's no comparison.
Right, you can't go back and be like, all right.
The decisions that happen are what happen. Yeah.
Exactly.
But look, Harry had the bomb that he is a wizard, and his parents got killed by a dark wizard, and he somehow defeated him as an infant, dropped on him. I think he can handle a Sirius Black. He didn't break then. He's not going to break now.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah, it is amazing to me that how Harry is just, for all of his like history and conditions and context and whatever, he seems to be a very normally functioning human wizard. Like, I don't know. I just don't think I could deal with like being thrust. He basically got thrust into this fame thing, and also this entire world that he knows nothing about. I don't know. It's just interesting for him as a character.
Yeah, a lot going on. I mean, I think it'll be interesting to get back into this and keep reading. And this is definitely a coming of age book for Harry. I mean, just the confrontations that are involved and the sort of themes involved are quite different than the first two books.
Yeah.
Where he's sort of more of an external hero in the first two. Where it's like these events are happening, and yes, it's Voldemort, but like really doesn't have anything to do with Harry. But this
is specifically
it is Harry.
Yeah, for sure.
So yeah, cool.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else?
No, that's all the notes I have.
Okay. Until next time.
Wands ready.